We need to get rifles. For safety, you know? Okay, AK-47, good option. Young man, cost? 65 Kuwaiti dinar, sir. Bishop's now buying rifles in bulk. Crazy. Woohoo! They say a man of God should never hold a gun. Subscribe or I'll shoot you. Nah, I'm joking, my friend.
They say a man of God should never hold a gun. Bishop Jude held 5. Lykuros, the jewel of Nygyrea, a city where glass towers kissed the clouds and the streets hummed with prosperity. Every Sunday, St. Michael's Cathedral swelled with believers, 1,000 voices, one faith, and at the pulpit, a man they trusted with their souls, Bishop Jude Manaka, 50 years carved into ebony skin, broad shoulders that carried the weight of his flock. When he spoke, even the ceiling seemed to listen. His wife Zane sat in the front row, elegant in her wrapper, flanked by their 5 children. Andy, the thoughtful eldest, Desal, with fire in his eyes, Carl, always watching his brothers, Sherik, sharp as broken glass, and little Elena, still young enough to believe the world was kind. After service, they posed for photographs, sunlight streaming, smiles unbroken, a family blessed by God and the church's generous salary of 850,000 Kuwaits monthly. But blessings have a way of souring when you're not paying attention. The news came in whispers first. Northern villages, attacks on churches. But Benue province was far. A different world, really. Jude heard the reports while sipping evening tea. Terrible, yes. Tragic, certainly. But distant. Until it wasn't. That Sunday, the broadcast interrupted breakfast. 3 churches in Benue. Simultaneous attacks. The footage was unholy. Pews slick with blood. Walls scorched black. Bodies scattered like broken hymn books. 147 dead. 89 taken, including the priests. Zane's hand trembled, spilling her tea. "They're killing us," she whispered. "For what? For praying?" Desal leaned forward, jaw tight. Someone should do something. Andy, ever the seminarian, touched his rosary. "We pray. God will..." "God," Desal cut him off, "isn't stopping bullets." The room fell silent. Even Elena stopped chewing. The emergency board meeting lasted 7 hours. 15 bishops and twice as many priests crammed into one stifling room, arguing over the same impossible question. What do shepherds do when wolves circle the flock? Some suggested fleeing to Europe. Others insisted prayer alone would shield them. Father Namdi, Jude's oldest friend, pounded the table. "We are priests, not soldiers. The moment we take up arms, we become what we condemn." But Bishop Okafor from Adama district had a different story. His church had been raided. 4 parishioners dead. "I prayed," he said quietly. "God didn't send angels. He sent men with machetes." The attacks were spreading. Schools raided. 300 students abducted in one night. Highways turned into killing fields. Travelers stopped, separated by religion, executed if they bore a cross. Jude stared at the reports, piling up. The government promised action, promised soldiers, promised security. The government was a liar. When he returned home, that night, his children watched him carefully, waiting. A bishop's decision carried weight, not just for him, but for thousands who looked to him for guidance. Zane found him in his study at midnight, staring at his Bible, open to Nehemiah 4:14. Fight for your families, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes. What are you thinking? She asked. He closed the book slowly. That faith without wisdom is suicide. 3 days later, Jude stood before his congregation with an announcement that split the room down the middle. We will arm ourselves. Gasps, murmurs. One woman fainted. This is not a call to violence, he continued, voice steady as bedrock. This is a call to survival. God gave us hands to act and minds to think. We will defend his temple and his people. Within a week, he'd purchased 5 AK-47 rifles, 1 for himself, 1 for Zane, 3 for the boys, 2 pump-action shotguns for his daughters. Cost 4.2 million Kuwaits. The message to the church was clear. Get armed or get buried. Most did. Sunday services transformed, armed guards at the doors, families posing with weapons after worship, smiling like it was normal. The boys practiced in the backyard, treating it like sport. Carl posted photos online. #protecting our faith. Father Namdi stopped speaking to him, but for a while, just a while, Jude felt something he hadn't felt in months. Safe. But he was wrong. When does the shield you raise to protect your family become the sword that destroys it? There's a particular kind of madness that creeps in slowly. So slowly, you mistake it for sanity. The armed church became ordinary faster than anyone expected. 6 weeks after Jude's announcement, St. Michael's Cathedral looked less like a house of worship and more like a fortress preparing for siege. 2 armed guards flanked the entrance every Sunday. Ushers carried pistols beneath their cassocks. Even the choir director kept a revolver in the organ bench. And the people? They loved it. Attendance doubled, tripled. Christians from across La Couros flocked to the church that fights back. Other parishes followed suit. Pastor Obi's Pentecostal Assembly, Reverend Chukwu's Baptist Congregation, even the quiet Anglican Church on 7th Street. Within 3 months, half the churches in La Couros had armed their congregations. The photos told the story. Families in their Sunday best, rifles slung over shoulders, smiling at the camera like they were holding newborns instead of weapons. Hashtags multiplied, #, armed for Christ, #, defend the faith, #, Nygyrea strong. Desal posted constantly. Him and Carl, military stances in the backyard, fingers off triggers like they'd been taught. Comments flooded in. Stay safe, brothers. This is what warriors look like. God and guns, the only way forward. The boys practiced every Saturday now. Disassembly, reassembly, target shooting at the range just outside the city. Desal had natural talent, steady hands, cold focus. Carl mimicked everything his older brother did. Even Andy joined them, though he never looked comfortable holding the weapon. Zane became proficient too, though Jude noticed she never smiled during practice. At night, she woke screaming. Dreams of faceless men breaking down their door. Dreams where she had to choose which child to save. It's just nightmares, Jude told her. We're safe now. Look, no attacks in La Couros, not one. They see we're ready. She didn't argue, but her eyes said what her mouth wouldn't. Yet, Father Namdi stopped visiting. Their 30-year friendship ended not with shouting, but with silence, the cruelest kind of farewell. He'd come once, stood at Jude's door, and said simply, "You've turned shepherds into wolves. When the blood comes, and it will come, remember I warned you." Then he walked away. Jude told himself the old priest was too idealistic, too soft for these times. In the old world, faith alone might have been enough. But this wasn't the old world anymore. The news confirmed it daily. Adama district, 45 Christians burned alive in a church. The doors had been chained from outside. Zawani province, an entire village erased. 233 people. The youngest was 4 months old. Highway 7. Bandits stopped 14 vehicles in one afternoon. Anyone wearing a cross was shot on sight. 29 dead before sunset. The government issued statements, promised intervention, deployed troops who arrived too late, too few, too poorly equipped. The president gave speeches about unity while his people bled in the streets. See, Jude told his family over dinner one night. This is why we had to act. Who else will protect us? Andy pushed his rice around his plate. Father Namdi says, Father Namdi, Desal interrupted, can afford principles. He doesn't have a wife, doesn't have children. Easy to be righteous when you have nothing to lose. Zayn shot Desal a warning look, but said nothing. Sherik, 15, and sharper than her age suggested, spoke up. But Papa, doesn't it bother you that we look like them now? The people we're supposed to be different from? Jude set down his fork carefully. We are different. We defend. They attack. Never forget that distinction. But late at night, alone in his study, he wondered if his daughter had seen something he was refusing to see. How many small compromises does it take before you can't recognize yourself in the mirror? Month 4 brought the intelligence report. A contact in the police force, one of Jude's parishioners, called him at 2 a.m. Bishop, we've intercepted communications. They're planning something big. Multiple churches in Lykuros. Coordinated attack next Sunday. Jude's blood went cold, then hot, then cold again. He called every religious leader he had armed connections with. By dawn, a network of defense was in place. Armed parishioners stationed at every major church. Communication channels open, police on standby, though everyone knew the police response time was measured in hours, not minutes. Sunday morning came wrapped in tension, thick enough to choke on. St. Michael's Cathedral was a powder keg. Every adult was armed. Children kept close. Jude preached with his AK-47, leaning against the pulpit, a strange new kind of altarpiece. Today, he told his congregation, we show them. We are not victims. We are not prey. We are the children of God, and we will not go quietly into the night. Applause, amens. Weapons raised like offerings. They waited. Morning stretched into afternoon. Afternoon bled into evening. Nothing happened. No attack came. No terrorists appeared. The intelligence, it seemed, had either been wrong or their show of force had scared them off. The city celebrated. We did it, Pastor Obi shouted, firing his pistol into the air. They saw we were ready and they ran like dogs. Jude stood in his church that night, surrounded by congratulating parishioners, feeling something he couldn't quite name. Victory, or the uncomfortable sensation that they'd crossed a line they couldn't uncross. Desal was jubilant. You see, Father, this is what strength looks like. Respect through force. But Andy was quiet. Too quiet. The celebration lasted 3 days. Then came the announcement that changed everything. The Archbishop's office sent a message to every diocese in Nygyrea. Jude read it twice, certain he'd misunderstood. Due to catastrophic financial shortfall, all clergy salaries are suspended indefinitely, effective immediately. 9 months of back pay cannot be guaranteed. We ask for your patience and continued faith during this difficult period. Jude's hands shook holding the paper. 850,000 Kuwaits monthly. Gone. Not delayed. Suspended. Indefinitely. He called the central office, got transferred 6 times, finally reached someone who confirmed what the letter said, and added almost apologetically, "The global recession hit our investments hard, Bishop. And with attendance down nationwide due to the violence, the offering boxes aren't what they used to be. We're sorry. We'll restore salaries as soon as we can." "When?" Jude demanded. Silence. "When?" he repeated. "We don't know." The line went dead. Jude sat in his office, staring at his bank statement. Savings, 340,000 Kuwaits, minus monthly expenses, school fees, electricity, water, food, medical, maybe 3 months before they hit zero. 3 months if they were careful. Zayn took the news like a punch. She didn't cry, just nodded slowly and said, "We'll manage." But her eyes betrayed her. You know what hunger does to people? It doesn't just empty your stomach. It hollows out your morals, one meal at a time. Month 1 was uncomfortable. They cut back. No more meat with every meal. Rice and beans became standard. The generator ran less. Electricity was expensive. Small luxuries vanished first. Zayn's weekly salon visits, Carl's football league fees, the premium internet package. "It's temporary," Jude kept saying. "The church will sort itself out." Month 2 was painful. School fees came due. Jude paid Andy's seminary tuition, barely, and Carl's secondary school. But there wasn't enough for extras. Carl's science textbooks, Cherik's debate club uniform, Elena's art supplies. "We'll borrow them," Cherik said quietly. "It's fine." It wasn't fine. Jude took on side work, manual labor, a bishop carrying cement bags on a construction site, hoping no one from his congregation would see him. The pay was insultingly low, 8,000 Kuwaits for 10 hours of backbreaking work. But 8,000 Kuwaits bought rice for a week. His body ached in new ways. His cassock started hanging looser. Zayn sold her jewelry, the gold earrings Jude had given her on their wedding day, the bracelet she'd inherited from her mother. Each piece went for far less than it was worth. But desperation made you a poor negotiator. Month 3 brought real fear. Savings, 47,000 Kuwaits. 1 meal a day became normal. Breakfast was tea and bread, if they were lucky. Dinner was whatever Zayn could stretch furthest. The children stopped complaining about hunger after the first week. They'd learned complaints changed nothing. Andy lost weight visibly. His cassocks looked like they were borrowed from someone 2 sizes larger. Dark circles carved into the skin beneath his eyes. Desal became quieter, watched everything, calculated everything. Carl followed Desal's lead. He always did. Elena fell sick with malaria. The medication cost 15,000 Kuwaits. Jude held the prescription in his hand, looked at their bank balance, and felt something inside him crack. They borrowed the money from a parishioner, promised to pay it back when the church resumed salaries. When, not if. He had to believe in when. Month 4 brought the debt collectors. Electricity cut off. Water reduced to a trickle. The landlord, even though Jude technically owned the house, there was a church mortgage, sent warning letters. 3 months behind. Pay or face eviction. A bishop evicted.